Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining in today. This is the first RFP presentation that we are doing. And consequently, every time an RFP is completed, we request the scientists who have worked on the RFP to present their studies, their whatever they have learned, whatever the white papers or presentations are, so that the larger community, all of us, can understand and learn from the findings that these scientists have figured out. And this is the first of them. Auspicious day today. Happy Lori, Makar Sankranti, Pongal, wherever in whatever part of the world you are in. A great day to start this endeavor. We'll just start in a couple of minutes, waiting for a few more folks to join. So we'll start at 10:04.
I have a suggestion, Mr. Raji.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Once RFP is completed, then the whole thing is uploaded in our platform,
Yeah,
RenewCred platform.
yeah.
Then everybody can access anytime that
For
that
sure they
project.
can. All
That project.
the, yeah, for
Uh,
sure they
because uh,
can.
because it may happen that somebody may not get time to attend the meeting.
That's true. So two things we are doing. One is we are recording this meeting, so the video will be available on the RenewCred portal as well as a Drive folder access that will provide to all the scientists. Second is all the presentation, all the material. They also become part of a peer review cycle and a public consultation cycle. This one is special because this is more of a presentation for a college lecture. But other material which are part of both peer review and public consultation, they become part of the open access, at least for the RenewCred science community. So you have access to the material and you have access to the videos that we will record via this submission.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Mukherjee, the floor is yours. We can get going. Once again, thank you so much for everybody to join in. This is the first RFP presentation that we are doing. Consequently, every time a RFP is completed by one or two scientists, the findings will be presented to the larger community for three things: A, to learn from their findings; B, to add your feedback; and C, to critically analyze and provide whatever changes, whatever modifications can be made to the presentations that are being made. The format for today is 45 to 50 minutes of Dr. Mukherjee presenting, and then we can get into open question answers. My request would be to just raise your hand. So on the below bar, you will see a button very close to the close meeting button. It's kind of a hand. You can raise the hand and click like this. So this will pop up, and one by one, I will request you to either ask your question. Alternatively, you can also type in your question in the chat box. Another request is while the presentation is going on, please keep yourselves on mute. Perfecto. Dr. Mukherjee, over to you. You're on mute. You might have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah. So shall we begin?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I welcome you all on behalf of RenewCred. The session is going to be on carbon footprint management and CO2 storage, which provide pathways to sustainable solutions. As we all might have an idea of what carbon footprint is, let me give you a brief overview. So carbon footprint is basically the total impact of any of our activities which lead to emission of carbon dioxide. It could be of an individual or a group of people or a working sector or a nation or even global. So if there is any activity which is leading to any sort of CO2 emission or even greenhouse gas emission, we put it under carbon footprint. Now, from the graph, as you can see, it shows an increasing trend of increasing trend of carbon dioxide concentration. So in the pre-industrial era, it was basically before industrialization started, the values were very less. In the 1900s, the value of CO2 concentration was around 260 ppm approximately, which now in October 2024, it has been reported to be 421 ppm, which is enormous. Let's move on. So there is a global upheaval on carbon footprint, and it is evidently because of the ongoing extreme climate changes, extreme weather conditions. It is solely due to us offsetting the natural carbon cycle, because what we are doing, we've been increasing the sources of carbon dioxide and we've been cutting down on the repositories or the sinks of carbon dioxide, thus leading to break in the balance of the natural carbon dioxide. And this year only started with a disastrous California wildfire, and it is officially now established. In fact, it's been announced that 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded in the history. Now, the term carbon footprint actually has its inception from the phrase ecological footprint. This ecological footprint was put forward in 1992 by a British economist, William Rees. So based on that, years later, the term carbon footprint was introduced, but it was published for a different reason, which we'll be discussing in a while. Sustainability, linking carbon footprint and sustainability is very essential, because sustainability is more about utilizing the natural resources in a way that it meets the needs of the present generation, also keeping in mind that they are available for the future generations. So one way of attaining sustainability, I'd say, is to reduce the carbon footprint, because in the long run, it could help us attain sustainability. Let's say by combating climate change, by conserving natural resources, protecting biodiversity, etc. Now, there are different ways of attaining sustainability by reduction of carbon footprint. I have given some of those. First of all, choosing circular economy over linear economy. So what circular economy does is, let's say it brings down overall material use, and it refabricates material and or a concerned product to be less resource intensive, and it also kind of recaptures the wastes as a resource to manufacture new materials and products. Basically, the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. And we already know that recycling brings about a significant proportion of energy demand. So in a way, we could also attain a drastic reduction in carbon dioxide emissions. Second would be adopting policies like carbon taxing, carbon credit, which is mostly, suppose there's an organization and that organization has been given a limit to emit carbon dioxide, a specific limit to emit carbon dioxide annually. Now, if by any chance that concerned organization has surpassed the amount given to it, it has to buy a carbon credit. It has to spend money. It could be much like a penalty because of offsetting, because of crossing the, exceeding the the permissible limit. And for the organizations who have been able to reduce their emissions below the permissible limit, they could sell some of their available credits and they could attain money. They could earn profit out of it. So in a way, it is directly reducing carbon footprint, and it is also encouraging every organization, to start curbing down carbon dioxide. Energy efficiency, we have so many products available in the market which are energy efficient. Then alternative resources of energy, which are basically the renewable energy resources. In fact, they are going to help in curbing down the greenhouse effect, global warming effect significantly. Of all the countries of the world, Norway is considered to be having highest percentage of renewable energy resources. It accounts for about 98% of its overall energy usage comes from renewable energy resources, followed by countries like Brazil, then New Zealand. And for our country, for India, we'd say it accounts for approximate a little more than 45% of renewable energy. And in in India, Rajasthan is the state which is using renewable energy to the maximum, followed by Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. And the states which still haven't been able to, uh, which require to have an impetus, are West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, these ones. And another option would be to measure carbon footprint. There are a number of online calculators available, and there are so many protocols available. And lastly, carbon dioxide capture, utilization, and storage. It is a very promising technology. So I'm not discussing it right now because we'll be discussing it about it in detail a bit later. Now coming to inception of carbon footprint, the term was coined way before, but it's British Petroleum, which basically increased publicized the use of this phrase carbon footprint. So this was used as a part of the rebranding campaign of British Petroleum to project British Petroleum as beyond petroleum in the face of global warming. So it was around 2000 or 2004 when the then CEO, he had launched an ad campaign to rebrand British Petroleum as an eco-friendly company. That was to project that it was moving beyond petroleum by investing in renewable energy sources. And they basically wanted people to know, how British Petroleum was confronting climate change. So this is about a little history on carbon footprint. Let's move on. There are two terms which at times we change interchangeably because they have the same goal of attaining of attaining less of attaining reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. One is carbon neutrality and the other one is net zero. Carbon neutrality is solely focused on reduction of carbon emissions, and net zero is focused more on bringing about a drastic reduction in all of the greenhouse gases. But when we calculate the carbon emissions, in fact, even it is in terms of other greenhouse gases, let us say methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur hexafluoride, these are always converted to a single unit of CO2 or CO2 equivalent, we call it. But again, both envisage on decreasing greenhouse gas emissions. And again, the aim is to, bring down the greenhouse gas emissions to the pre-industrial levels so that a mass balance exists between the influx and efflux of all the greenhouse gases. Now, in order to attain this, I talk about two different types of markets that is associated with this carbon, which is one is called compliance market, another one is called voluntary market. Compliance market is more regulated by governmental organizations, and it is designed in order to help nations or organizations to meet their legally mandated carbon reduction targets. Whereas when we talk about voluntary markets are more about, uh, let's say, there are certain organizations or individuals who want to voluntarily meet their carbon, let's say, carbon neutrality goals. These credits, which they attain through a voluntary market, are often used as a part of, let's say, their CSR activity or corporate social responsibility, or it could also be, to meet sustainable commitments, to their respective sustainable commitments. Um, on the basis of, basically, for for most of the companies, like in India, we are having, SEBI has introduced a reporting standard, which is called BRSR. We'll talk about this, in which one has to, the concerned organization has to mandatorily disclose the carbon dioxide emissions in the, let's say, supply chain. So broadly, there are three different types of emissions: scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Scope 1 is direct emission. Suppose from the flue gas emission, from the flue gas, if carbon dioxide is getting released, it is considered to be direct emission of that concerned organization. Now, let's say we have a cement industry. Now, for running its operations, it has purchased electricity. Now, for production of that electricity, suppose it has purchased electricity from a coal-fired thermal power plant. So it is going to, so the carbon dioxide emitted is indirectly a part of this concerned industry. So this is called scope 2. Scope 3 is also an indirect one. This was earlier not a mandatory one, but now it has become a mandatory one to disclose these emissions. So this would be, let's say, transportation of the concerned product, or any process in the supply chain. Again, this is this is a type of indirect emission. Let's try to understand this one in a bit detail. So for example, I have taken into consideration an oil extraction company, or we can also take into consideration any oil refinery. So for scope 1 would be the CO2, direct CO2 emission. And in the processing, what we at times what we need to do is, at times, if excess hydrocarbons are there, we need to burn them off. We need to undertake a controlled burning of these oil and gas production. Since they are organic in nature, they will emit carbon dioxide. So this is coming under scope 1. And there are leakage possible. Always there's a possibility of leakage through pipelines when carbon dioxide is getting transported. So that also comes under scope 1. Scope 2 we have already discussed, like anything, if it is purchasing from any other organization which is having some carbon footprint, that is taken under consideration of that accounts for scope 2 emissions. Scope 3, suppose an employee is using that oil to go for a business travel, or that oil is being used by somebody, and maybe that oil or whatever natural gas, whatever form of fuel they are using, let's say its disposal processes, they would also come under indirect emission of scope 3. Now, this slide is meant for giving an overview of the comparison of some frameworks and some control standards. There are several types of standards, but I have taken up GHG protocol, WRI, and ISO. All of these are vital in making mandatory disclosures, in preparing the performance report on ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and to demonstrate their respective commitments towards responsible commitment to responsible business practices. Um, So if we try to compare these ones, we'll find based on the scope, we'd say that World Resource Institute focuses primarily on providing a very vast, a comprehensive guidance on accounting and reporting greenhouse gas emissions. And ISO 14064 series, it is more of a standardized framework for measuring, I mean, quantifying, monitoring, reporting, and verifying the emissions and the respective removal processes. Another one I'd say is for WRI, verification is not a mandate as of now. It is still optional, but it is highly recommended, for transparency. And for ISO 14064, especially 140643, that is specific to a carbon footprint. So for that, third-party verification is a must, and it also inculcates detailed requirements for validation verifications. Again, to ensure transparency and credibility, because consumers nowadays are very much aware. We always try to look for eco-friendly products, we try to look for eco-labeling, as we are well aware of what is going around. So hence, for these certifications is something that is very important. Now let's move on. This is more of a take of India on and its respective role in CO2 emissions. As you can see, a major part of CO2 emission is by the energy sector. There are so many industries: coal-fired thermal power plants, cement industries, oil refineries, natural gas productions, and so many industries are there which significantly contribute to emission of greenhouse gases. And India ranks third in the greenhouse gas emissions after the United States and China. Yeah. Um, However, India has her plans to get to go net zero by the year 2070. And India has already made certain progress on this. So India has significantly brought down emission intensity of GDP. So what emission intensity of GDP means is, let's say we would express this in terms of, let's say, how many metric tons of CO2 is produced per unit of GDP, or uh, let us say tons of CO2 equivalent produced per rupee. So it would be much like this. So emission intensity is much like the total amount of greenhouse gas produced per unit of a country's economic output. So this is what emission intensity is, and we are very successfully curbing it. We are successfully reducing it. Now, CCUS has started to take an impetus in India. That's actually a very good news, because it has been quantified that if we begin using CCUS, I mean globally, it could lead to curbing of about 57% of total CO2 emissions, which is enormous. However, CCUS is somewhat a new technology for us, but it is going to be expensive. And this is why initially adoption of CCUS in India was a bit challenging because of its price sensitive market. Now, price sensitive market means in certain countries uh, which have a price sensitive market, means consumers, they prefer I would say they prefer affordability over other factors, like whenever it comes to making decision regarding buying a product. Obviously, this is driven by so many factors: social, cultural, political, economic. So many factors are there behind it. But we are about to enter the CCUS league along with other countries. Every country has a climate action plan. Our India's climate action plan is called Panchamrit scheme. This is introduced by the government of India in the COP26 in 2021, which was held in Glasgow in Scotland. There, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, had announced this Panchamrit scheme in order to attain carbon neutrality and net zero emissions. So in this only they have he has mentioned the incorporation of several schemes like reduction in fossil fuel use, adopting more renewable energy sources, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So these for these to be incorporated, several steps are needed to be taken, which we are adopting. Now, so far, we discussed about carbon footprint management and sustainability. Now we'll come to the other part, which is carbon storage. Before we go to the carbon storage, we need to understand what CCUS is. CCUS was earlier called just CCS, carbon capture and storage. But since carbon dioxide is not just stored inside the subsurface formations, rather it is used in different other processes, let's say in the production of synthetic fuels. In fact, it is used in the production of so many chemicals. There are production of, let's say, fertilizers like urea, which is used as a feedstock, in which CO2 is used as a feedstock, methanol production, polycarbonate plastic production, several utilization of carbon dioxide is there. Hence, this U has been added. So let's split the terms. Carbon capture. Carbon can be captured in two ways. One from the ambient air, which is called DAC method, and the other one is capturing from flue gases. And both of them aim could be to store CO2 or send it for some other utilization processes. So, and another thing we should note is the carbon footprint, the process that we are utilizing, that we are taking up for reducing carbon footprint. We have to ensure that the carbon footprint of the utilized technique, does not exceed any conventional approach. So, because if that happens, that would be futile. Now let's move on. So this is just an overview of CCUS. As you can see, this is a CO2 capturing process. We'll discuss what are the processes briefly. So let us assume it could be DSC, a direct air capture, or let us say it could be from flue gas of any concerned industry. After the carbon dioxide is captured, it needs to be separated, because what we require is carbon dioxide to be sent to different industries, or maybe to store in different geological formations. So it needs to be compressed under specific temperature and pressure conditions. So for carbon capture, utilization and storage, we have a specific temperature and pressure condition, which is we have to ensure that the carbon dioxide is transported under 7.38 MPa megapascal and 31.1 degrees Celsius temperature conditions, so that because at this temperature and pressure conditions and above, CO2 turns into a supercritical fluid. Supercritical fluid is one in which its properties slightly change. It starts to behave both as a liquid and a gas. So as a liquid, its density increase. Now density is inversely proportional to volume. So more dense the carbon dioxide is, the supercritical carbon dioxide is, the more CO2 we can store, the more CO2 we can transport as well. This is showing one of its use in enhanced oil or gas recovery. What we do here in this, usually what we do, if there's an oil recovery or uh, gas recovery reservoir plant, we make two wells. We dig wells. One is called the injection well, from which we inject carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide pushes the oil and natural gas, whatever is there, off from the pore spaces, and it is produced, means it is sent upwards through another well, which is called production well, from which we capture it, and we then send it to the concerned refining processes. So this is one of the ways. So this is what CCUS is all about. Now another one, carbon dioxide capture. This is a very vital process. This is for, let's say, it takes into account three. I mean, carbon capture can be of broadly three. Can be attained by three broad processes: post combustion, pre, and oxy-fuel combustion. So in post combustion, we let the flue gas develop. After that, we pass the flue gas through a scrubber. Scrubber is it could be an absorbent, and that absorbent that adsorbent contains a chemical solvent in which carbon dioxide can dissolve. Let's say monoethanolamine, and then the carbon dioxide rich solvent is then heated so that the carbon dioxide is released for storage, and then it is captured, and then sorry, not captured, it is separated, and then it is stored and sent for utilization. This is post combustion. Pre combustion is before the flue gas is formed. So what we do, CO2 is captured before the flue gas is burnt, and in this what we do, we convert the fuel into a gas mixture of hydrogen and carbon dioxide, and CO2 again is separated, and it is separated and sent for transportation for the respective utilization process. The third one would be oxy-fuel combustion. So this is a process in which the fuel is burnt in a mixture of pure oxygen and recycled flue gas instead of air. So we are using pure oxygen. Now this results in the formation of a flue gas which gives a higher concentration of carbon dioxide than the other processes. So we get more carbon dioxide to be stored. So these are the three broad processes that we use for carbon dioxide capture. Okay, next is separation. Separation can involve multiple processes. I have given just three of them. We could use a solvent in which carbon dioxide can be dissolved. Just the one we just discussed, like carbon dioxide is soluble in monoethanolamine or any amine-based solution. That is one. Then we could use a membrane technology. So membrane technology is basically using selectively permeable membrane, and what happens here, it allows carbon dioxide to pass through the concerned membrane faster than the other one. So this is totally based on the differences in molecular size or solubility. So if we pass multiple gases, let's say a flue gas, so the concerned membrane will be used, which will let carbon dioxide to flow faster. And finally, there is the cryogenic distillation. Cryogeny is used when, I mean, in supercooling conditions, where a mixed gas stream is condensed, is cooled to a very low temperature, which is called the cryogenic condition, and hence the name cryogenic distillation process. After that, it is the carbon dioxide is separated based on the respective boiling points, hence the term distillation. And the gas mixture is first compressed to increase pressure, then again cooled, then in order to condense the carbon dioxide. It condenses first because CO2 has a higher boiling point than most other gases. Let's say if it contains nitrogen, if we compare carbon dioxide and nitrogen, carbon dioxide has a higher boiling point. So these are some of the processes we utilize for separating the carbon dioxide. After separation, the next step is utilization, which we already discussed, and then we go for CO2 storage. Before going into CO2 storage, I'd like to give you a brief overview on direct air capture. It's more of a standalone process, and this diagram is basically exhibiting multiple processes. So what we do, we first let ambient air enter the concerned contactor, and then the carbon dioxide reacts with the capture solution. It could be amine or anything to form a very rich solution of carbon dioxide. It is mixed very well, after which some solids are formed, and those solids are mixed with several other chemicals, and it is heated, and at the end the material releases pure carbon dioxide. So the main thing is it makes use of carbon dioxide from the ambient air. There's a comparative study of DSE and CCUS. CCUS is ideal for mitigating emissions from large point sources, stationary sources, industrial sources, and it is more of a in situ solution which can be integrated with existing infrastructure. DSE is more of a standalone system which offers a lot of variability, or let's say flexibility, in terms of location, because CCUS is usually done in places where carbon dioxide source is available in the vicinity. This we have already discussed. So these are certain storage media. Uh, like there are basalt formations which are a type of igneous rocks. Then there are unminable coal seams. There are deep saline aquifers. There are CO2 injection options for enhanced oil recovery. And this would also come under oil and gas reservoirs. So these are some of the geological storage media. Apart from that, oceans are also grabbing the attention to act as a potent media for storage of carbon dioxide. Now coming to global CCUS projects. CCUS projects have been increasing at an unprecedented rate. There have been a significant increase in CCUS projects, as you can see here. The total number of CCUS projects have increased over time. Now, I have given five of global large-scale projects. Sleipner project, which started in 1996, it was the first CCUS project adopted, and this used deep saline aquifers as the storage media, and it got it closed after there were after several leakages were found, but it brought about significant storage of carbon dioxide. It's approximately 23 million tons total. This is total, not per annum. This is total actually. And so far, the largest, and in fact, the CCUS project which has stored so far the maximum amount of carbon dioxide is the Santos Basin. It is a depleted oil reservoir. It is in Brazil. And so far, it started in 2019, and so far it has captured approximately 80 million tons of CO2. and the rest are exhibiting some of the large ones in different parts of the world. So, of the different uh, repositories or storage sites for carbon dioxide, deep saline aquifers are considered to be the largest one. This is because they are stretched over long distances. They have a huge area, and they are ubiquitous. They are mostly found in a lot of places. So it's not very difficult to find the sedimentary basin. And I've talked about a depth of 800 meter, but it's again not all the CCUS projects so far have followed this 800 meter, but this is an ideal depth because it is the depth at which CO2 can remain at ideal supercritical conditions, so that we can inject more of carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide needs to be present inside the subsurface. We have to ensure that they don't come out. And deep saline aquifers, they are used for storing CO2 and not for consumption of water, because everywhere we are having scarcity of water because of unequal distribution of precipitation. They have immense salinity, 10,000 ppm, which is huge. So if you want to desalinate that and convert it into water, I mean pure potable water, that would be futile. It will be extremely expensive. So we won't go for that. Rather, we can use that for storing carbon dioxide. So these are certain ways in which CO2 travels in subsurface. So when we choose a formation, we have to ensure that there's a layer of impermeable rock, because this is to ensure that CO2 does not leak out. So whatever geological formation we take into account, be it unminable coal seam, be it deep saline aquifer, having an impermeable cap rock is a must, so as to avoid leakage. So carbon dioxide, this is just showing that this brown one is your the cap rock, and CO2, because CO2 though it is supercritical, it has very low viscosity, so it can flow upwards because of buoyancy, so that it doesn't leak out. So having a cap rock is very essential. This is more of a physical trapping. This is a residual trapping. So what happens whenever CO2, so basically the sedimentary basins are porous. They have so many pores. Pores means holes. So CO2 enters, and this whatever material is present, let's say if it is methane, it will be methane. If it is oil, it will be oil. If it is gas, it will be gas. So the CO2 gushes into these pores, and it leads to the replacement of the existing fluid of the
The
native.
number you're calling is out of network.
Okay, it just replaces the fluid and takes its place. So this is also one. And then CO2, this is specific to saline aquifers because it's water. So with the saline aquifer, the carbon dioxide mixes with that water. It undergoes a lot of state change, and eventually, after hundreds of years, it gets trapped in the form of mineral. So it is permanently mobilized. This is why deep saline aquifers are more crucial. Let's move on. And any CO2 which is not trapped by the previous mechanisms, they are very likely to leak out. When it comes to geological formations, when we choose any site to be a model storage media, we have to ensure that it has heterogeneity. Heterogeneity means a geological formation can never be homogeneous. It has to have varied porosity, varied permeability. So what I have done here, I have injected some amount of carbon dioxide at the bottom. Bottom I have chosen because so that CO2 gets a lot of space to spread around, and so that it gradually can go up. So the topmost sea, even at 2500 years, we can see no carbon dioxide has entered the topmost region because it is the impervious cap rock. So this is the importance of having heterogeneity. CO2 can be injected in different ways. So this is a part of a research work that we conducted. So this is CO2 being injected at the bottom. And this is, I have incorporated CO2 and water co-injection. At the end, I found that when CO2 and water are co-injected, it leads to uh, less possibility of leakage, because more the water, more CO2 is getting dissolved in it. But here again, we have to take care of the pressure. Apart from deep saline aquifers, there are two other ways. One is enhanced coal bed methane. This is again, you inject carbon dioxide, and whatever methane is there in unminable coal beds, they are replaced and carbon dioxide takes its place, and we are getting methane as a value added product. And enhanced oil recovery, it's just injecting carbon dioxide and getting the additional oil, which we wouldn't be otherwise be able to extract economically. So it is basically serving two purposes. For finding out any formation, or for before fixing any site as a potential storage media, we need to take into consideration a lot of factors. We can't just go and select a just site based on a hypothetical study. We have to carry out a lot of simulations. We have to assess the storage capacity, because 100% of the pores is not accessible to carbon dioxide. So we need to assess the exact volume of CO2 that can be stored. Then there are other factors like temperature has profound impact on fluid flow. Then there is heterogeneity, compressibility of the liquid, and of course of the gas basically. Then the thickness of the formation, how thick it is, and if there's a probability of the CO2 to leak out if it is not thick enough. So these are different factors. Several other factors are also there. This site basically shows potential sites of deep saline aquifers that we have in our country. So there are quite a few basins available for CO2 storage, and with very good potential. But we still don't have exact data on what their respective uh, capacity is, but studies are going on. For adopting a CCUS technology for CO2 storage, we have to do a source sink study, because if the source is far away from the storage site, transportation cost is additional and carbon footprint will also be additional. So we need to do a source sink study. So this is showing some of the potential sites of throughout the country where CO2 is emitted. So currently, IOCL, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, is implementing India's first industrial scale carbon capture, utilization and storage project at its Koyali refinery, which is in Gujarat, in Koyali refinery in Vadodara. The refinery has a capacity of around 13.7, approximately 14 million metric tons per annum. And IOCL has also signed an MOU with ONGC to utilize the captured CO2. And it will be a very large scale project, and it will not just involve carbon storage, but it will also include commercial utilization of carbon dioxide. It has been planned that the captured CO2 will be sold to food and beverage companies. So these are certain steps that we take for a pilot scale study. Pilot scale is always done prior to a large scale study. First, we have to go for feasibility studies, if at all it is possible in that particular area, source sink matching, preliminary screening, if that reservoir has enough storage ability, else why would we go for that? Laboratory studies, we have to take samples, we have to study if carbon dioxide is able to flow through properly, or if it is leading to pressure accumulation, because there is a lot of factors that need to be taken into consideration for this. And at the end, techno-economical evaluation. Economics is very important because an organization is going to invest when you see one could get profit out of it. So these are certain steps. And these are some of the sites of probable sites of CO2 storage. This map gives an overview of different geological formations. And as we can see, India has a lot of potential to store carbon dioxide in geological formations. And this is a graph which shows basically the role of net zero emissions and carbon neutrality in attaining in curbing down the greenhouse gases. Now, there are two global standards of certifications. One is verified carbon standard, which we call VERA, and the other one is gold standard. They focus primarily on nature-based projects, and they do not even offer digital MRV, your monitoring, reporting and verification. Here comes the role of RenewCred, because it focuses not only on digitalization of MRV, but it also works on technology-driven projects on for industrial decarbonization. And it also focuses on non-nature-based projects, and we also go for financial ratings. So that's all about this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this brilliant and very informative presentation. I would request friends to ask any questions, raise their hand, and feel free to ask questions.